Okay, I'll be coming in a sec. Just got some stuff I'm working out. Okay, we're coming in. Hello. Pause that. Let me turn that off. Here's my face. Okay, we should be hopefully good. Yes, there we go. Thank God! That seems like the solution of just uninstalling and reinstalling Parsec. It works.
I'm gonna chalk it up to a you problem.
I think that was it. Honestly, when my the thing updated, I was like, okay, this just needs to be the same problem. So I'm glad I have reset it and we're good.
I mean, it's a solution, right? And luckily, Parsec's not like a wildly large program to install. Like, it would suck if it would suck if like we had to reinstall like Eastward every time.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. So I'm glad it's a this problem. Hopefully, the lag is not too bad.
I'm gonna chalk it up to a you problem.
Of course.
I mean, it is. I don't know what to tell you. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the final episode of Eastward. I fucking hope.
It should be. I have bro, I've said
yeah,
it's
see, look, you are in Charon.
Ah. Okay. Or is it just the name of the chapter?
I'm pretty sure. Well, no, because the preview. I mean, to be fair, like literally everything there says Charon, but like in the past, it's been the name of the location.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of like where you are. I think it's the sort of thing where Charon is not, and if I recall correctly, we should be all set to go. I think you have everything all squared away. I think maybe it's the sort of thing where like Charon is the name of the evil train and this location.
It could be, yeah.
All right, ready to go?
Ready? No lag.
I believe there's like a little bit, and then it's the final boss.
Oh, yeah? This esoteric freaking wall stuff. Okay, well that's Mother. I don't know what that is.
If you put strength in here and it's like an egg, we know that first one's supposed to represent the miasma. That's Sam.
That is Sam.
What the fuck? Well, there you go.
Just turned into a...
Yeah, what's over here? Oh god, imagine if you got a heart upgrade.
Darkness.
No! How pissed would you be if you learned that you had missed exactly one heart upgrade for the whole game?
I'm just gonna... Well, you know what? The potatoes already disappointed me, Zach, so I don't know. I have to let go. I have to learn to let go.
Don't go through yet. I think that this whole section, and we're going to talk about it, right, once you finish the game, but I think this whole section's a little weird, and you said the perfect word, which is esoteric, but man, this looks really cool.
Yeah, it is kind of we're here.
I like the 3D lighting effects on 2D sprites.
It is very good. We're here. Suddenly we're in a very different than what I thought place. Man, the popping of the bubble and the weird fluctuation of the visuals is cool.
Agreed.
This is a lot of walk up.
Duck. Duck. 2 crow.
1 field bubble. I'm assuming
Then
I
you
have
have
to
to
turn those
turn off
things
the
off.
things,
Yeah.
yeah.
Here
All
we
right,
go.
well, dungeon time. The hell? Oh.
Okay. I was like, there has to be something kind of weird going on here.
Good shot. Also, I noticed that it locks on too. I don't know if you saw that.
Did it? No, I did not see.
Yeah, your thing turns like yellow when you're pointing at something that can actually be hit by your
No.
stuff.
The yellow is like the farther reaching bubble.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because I thought I saw it snap.
Like look. And then I hold it a little bit, it turns yellow, it goes a lot farther.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I figured that out in the last one.
Well, there you go.
Yep. And there it is. Okay.
God,
I
imagine
don't
if you missed
see-
that.
Yeah, I just have to go around in like a circle again, you know? It's not too bad. Now I come with a pen!
Now it's normal, so you can pop it, I think. Well, not from
Hit
here.
those guys.
But... Oh, you want to murder the crows?
I like crows. But those are mechanical crows. So that's different.
All right, get in there.
Do not be concerned by the weird-looking crows. Man, eye imageries. Eh. Extra eye imagery. Oh yeah, I forgot that like there's not 2 Sams, that's just like the body of Sam.
Look at this thing.
Ow.
Laser beam.
I literally switched. Get out of here.
This is music, dude.
Get out of here.
She is beginning to believe.
There are a lot of like God rays.
Oh! Ooh. Good timing.
Okay. We gotta kill these guys.
Ducks.
The nice thing is...
More ducks.
that stands to reason that there's a goose somewhere.
I think that's the boss. She's beginning to take a lot of damage.
Should I use Sam's thing, you think?
Nah, I think you got a little bit of time. I think it's like,
Okay.
what, 6 hearts total?
I actually did not know the stuff.
Nice. You took a hit, but that's like totally fine, right?
Yeah. I
Because
feel
you
like I
got to
would
the
take
next phase, and that's all that matters.
continual hit, yeah.
4 ducks. Get in there.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there. Maybe use her healing power now when you get the chance.
I also...
You do have a lot of ammo, plus an ammo refill. I'd say that was smart. Sure. I would genuinely just whack it because I think it regenerates its health.
It's just...
Maybe not.
It is hard to get close to with this guy being like, come on!
Are there more ducks?
No, I was late.
No, you have to do it with timing. Oh, go to left or right.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Go to the left or right. You're teleporting through the lasers, right? There you go.
Okay. Wait, where did John go?
He's in that bubble with you. Alright, go nuts, I guess. No,
Oh.
don't be on. Ooh.
Oh.
Hit him. Hit the boss.
With... Oh.
Anything. So now you want to be teleporting backwards so you don't get hit by the laser. Yeah. There you go. Oh, there's one. Oh, dude, it's a Rochi.
I was just going to say, or like a type of Cerberus looking thing.
I mean, that's not dead, right?
No, of course not.
It's gotta be something else.
John is tired, or what's happening?
Ah, they're just moving around. That is me.
Her essence is now in Pan?
You know, besides Pan, you know what else has 3 letters in it? Sam.
Oh my god!
It's like stupid shit.
The opposite of...
Alright, Saba, get in there.
Sam is mass, and the opposite of Pan is nap. Both of them make sense.
It's true.
Oh!
Whack him. Can you whack it? Yeah, just go away.
Yeah, except I'm not really moving forward if I just whack
Well,
them.
then, I guess just dodge those ones, and then the ones that are aligned you have to hit. Okay. I genuinely think it would be better to have Sam here. Oh, you can just whack it. Because you have Sam's powers in your pan. That's stupid. Wait, does that mean you can hold triangle to heal?
I don't know.
You're gonna go whacking. Nice.
I don't know if I was supposed to time that or not. Whack!
Fucking. Did that work? Nice.
It is
not
a
as
climbing
nice.
thing.
Don't forget, you have tons of food.
Yeah. No! Oh, ouch.
I might recommend eating something. Just because you're taking a lot of damage pretty quickly. I would do the fucking beef stew, dude. Look at all that health plus damage.
Okay.
I think you did it. I don't know. Nice.
Now both together. I
Nope.
swear I hit that. Here we go.
Doubtful.
Oh, he did it twice. I was late. Go.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Fucker.
Oh, it's going a bit fast. Yeah.
Nope. You gotta give a whack now. So I think if you take two, because you know that's how she gets like multiple layers of.
Yeah.
I think you have to like clear out those first and then charge.
Oh, this isn't gonna do anything.
Correct.
No.
Oh my god.
I'm just gonna need the timing's annoying.
Is it?
Is it the where's my faster thing? It's Agna.
Sure. Yeah. That works. So just handle all the orbs and then hit her every once in a while. Very nice. She has layers of shield. You're gonna hit her shield. There you go.
Okay. Ooh.
That worked. Very confused. Okay. Okay.
We're gonna go in this weird dimensional thing where Sam is gonna be Mother's gonna trick us and like oh. What are we just gonna do? We're gonna go to her and whack her?
Yeah.
Pan?
Oh, water. Oh, please! I'm so sick of your shit! Like, fucking... Fuck.
That's, you know, creepy. Moniker. Okay. A bunch of excuse making, you know, to try to.
You don't understand. My murderous killing spree was valid because these people hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Fill in the empty space.
No, I have no idea.
do like the hair though.
Man. John? That's a lot of water.
But is it though?
Rephrase, it looks like a lot of water. Man. What are we looking at? Was Sam Mother's heart? I don't know.
You know? Actually, that makes sense, right?
It's a lot of hair. My God, John's eyes!
It's the second time we've seen them.
So, why though?
This is why I want to have a big discussion.
Okay. John. Ooh. Oh, but he turned back a little bit.
And thus, hope had melted the ice of time. Courage had shattered the fetters of fate. The only thing they couldn't escape, this curse from the days of old, was goodbye.
So they're gone.
The Grim Reaper's boat left humanity behind, and the princess and her knight turned their backs on what had passed. As the thick void finally receded, mankind emerged from its gloomy refuge. But the broken waves carved out a lonely island, and as the tide turned to rain, wind, and storm, only to vanish finally without a trace, it became time to set forth once again. It would be a journey ne'er before taken, towards the light beyond the far-off horizon. A light brighter than any star, and warmer even than the sun.
An eastbound train that goes potentially eastward. Uh-huh. Oh gosh, yeah, it already feels like a human nightmare. I'm not gonna lie, just from the cicadas. Oh, it's a Sam-esque looking person. And a John-esque looking person. Ah.
What color are her shoes?
I know, they're red. She's like an older-ish Sam with a ponytail.
But that doesn't make any sense, Saba. She got her red shoes from Alvo. Where would this Sam have gotten her shoes from?
I mean, I don't know what's happened with the world. Maybe this is just a, coincidental fate choice, I guess. She's like, ah, look at those red shoes. Look at that nice water. We just see like a car brush past us.
Like on the water.
Eastward!
Well, that was Eastward.
Okay.
So, obviously, I have a lot I want to say. But before any of that, I think that it would be extremely fascinating to hear your opinions on the game.
It was a good game. I'm trying to like I really think they had like an interesting idea going on here. I think there were some plot holes that I think even you like are sometimes like, yeah, I want to talk about it.
Look at the characters!
Yeah,
Oh!
I'm not gonna lie, Earthborn.
Earthborn, dude!
One of the best parts of this game.
Is the game in the game.
Honestly, if they focused on making, I don't know, like a series of like not Earthborn, but like Earthborn-esque, just like,
just like little adventures.
Yeah, I feel like they would do really well. They make good characters.
God, the art in this game is so good.
Yeah, the art's nice. Yeah, I think overall it is a solid game.
Project managers. Sorry. There was just so many project managers. It was like just a brick of project managers, and I couldn't help but laugh.
And like potentially I have to.
Have to what?
In like an hour, I may have to like go pick up my sister and do stuff. But I think we can talk about everything before
We're
that
obviously
time.
not going to be here for an hour.
Yeah. I
But
think we're good. So yeah, I thought it was just pretty solid. Like I said, there's just a couple of plot holes that I'm like, okay, let's just reason or talk it out, and then like. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Kind of depressing at some points. I feel like I should have gotten an award for holding on to that tuna sandwich.
oh, I mean, I would have. I personally give you an award. It wasn't hugely
Oh my
detrimental,
god,
but like,
Daniel! Maybe not Daniel. The father. With Daniel.
I think this is
Trying to fix other
prequel.
Daniel. This is post, I think.
Is this post?
Yeah.
No, this is post.
Yay!
So we took the iron carbine back to Pock Croc Isle or whatever.
He looks different. He looks better. I'm happy. Because at first I was like, Daniel had made it to my list of, like, alongside Toby of people who will not be forgotten, but he lived. I'm happy.
You fixed them. I mean, he is just a robot, to be fair.
Well, sure, but these robots have personalities.
And to lose that would essentially be death.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to talk about in terms of like trying to figure out what the fuck even happened in this game, right? I would like to say that once again, I think this game is very good. I think it is. I think it is extremely worth people's time. My problem with the game is that everything after New Dam City or Big Dam City
kind of goes kind of crazy.
feels well,
more
yeah,
fantastical.
it's just like, the game has it has a very concrete objective, more or less, at first, right? Like when you're in Pot Croc Isle, it's like, all right, we got to get out of here because this is not a good place to live, right? And then it's like, hey, we're gonna head east, right? Because it's like we are on to bigger and better things. You head east, you find yourself in the farm town, right? And you get to see like what life could be, and then it's the tragedy, the miasma, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it sets the stakes, it puts like some tragedy in there, and it's like, okay, this is like really good. And then you get to Big Dam City, and it's a location that you spend a lot of time in, and it's pretty much the only location in the game that has like side quests, which is a big deal, right? Clearly it's a very big and significant location, but the fact that it's almost smack dab in the middle of the narrative is very strange, because like you start doing all this stuff with like time looping and like a train full of monkeys, and we'll talk about all that stuff because technically it does tie into the lore and stuff like that, or not even technically, literally it does. But then you get to Esther City. And I like Esther City conceptually. Like the idea of a city that's locked in a single day is totally fine. Like that's totally a fine premise. But compared to everything that came before it, the fact that Esther City is mostly just walking.
Yeah, it's like a
right?
repeated, like having to go give people stuff.
You have to do like delivery runs like 4 times in that section. With little to no variation. Like sometimes people are in different locations and sometimes they say different things, you know? Like there was that one loop where we got to see what an overly zealous Daniel would be like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, it's strange in that way, but it's just such a weird like it's such a weird like hard pause on the momentum that the story had been building. Not even a hard pause, like I don't know. I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna get too much into it. But like, before we get into like a grander narrative analysis, or like just trying to figure out what the fuck happened in this game, what are your thoughts on the narrative as a person who likes narrative a lot?
Um, so as you said, under the beginning with Pot Croc made sense, right? Trying to get out. Sam kind of knowing a bit about the upside world where like she doesn't really we don't really know why she knows and stuff. Like that
That
part's
was a
fine.
phrase that she kept repeating over and over, by the way, which was like green on bottom, blue on top, or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
like, as soon as you leave Pockrock Isle, like, that never shows up again because you don't actually ever see that until the very end of the game.
You mean like blue and green on bottom or like the line itself?
Well, not the line itself, but like the visual of like green on bottom, blue on top, because that final scene is a very lush green, like jungly, like humid environment with a clear blue sky above it. Literally nowhere else in the game has that aesthetic. Even that first stop where you're at like the farming town, it's like a beigey brownish area, and then like blue on top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's a very weird thing to like reinforce over and over at first, and then to just immediately drop. 'Cause I thought it was going to be a big deal, but maybe not.
Yeah, and so then Greenberg,
Okay, you remembered the name.
yeah, I did. Um that part was
Rest in
fine
peace,
too.
Greenberg.
Yeah, where it was like, oh, seeing the potential of life, but it's like, oh, you haven't escaped. There is like that X thing out there that's like getting everyone. So it's like you try to move to somewhere else that's still safe, but potentially like, and maybe who knows? I think at that point you weren't still potentially trying to like fix anything per se. You were just trying to find like somewhere safe, and then you get to New Dam City.
Is it New
Um,
Dam or Big Dam? I don't remember.
I thought it was new.
I think you're right. I think it's New Dam City, and then it
Yeah,
was Big Dam Crab Pot. I
yeah.
think was the food that you made,
Um,
right?
so and then you actually start exploring with like someone specifically, like, oh, this miasma, what it is, and kind of like,
I would like to talk a little bit more on New Dam City just as a location, because when you actually look at like what you do in New Dam City, it really is just Greenberg 2, because Greenberg was showing you here's what your life could be,
and
right?
then getting
But
attached to
Greenberg,
someone, but it wasn't like that someone didn't really know
like
about
making a
the
life for
thing.
yourself, right? But then Greenberg had no protection from the miasma.
Yeah,
New
so
Dam City is literally designed to protect you from the miasma.
it's kind of like Greenberg was like, oh, potential place doesn't know about the miasma. The second place is like potential place, but it's all like now you're surrounded by the idea of like miasma and fighting the miasma.
Like, we are aware of it, we are actively, we actively have a system to protect us from this. Unfortunately, the system requires expertise to be able to run, which is why everybody treated Alva like she was royalty, because she was one of the only people that knew how to actually run the damn thing, you
Yeah,
know.
so meeting Alva, so each it is similar in the fact that we each got close to like someone or people in general in like the two locations.
You make like a family
Um,
unit in New Dam City, right? Because like with
yeah,
Uva's whole thing is that you never actually get there. It's that it's a potential, right? But then in New
yeah,
Dam City, it's like you're all living in the same house. You have like family meals and like people are working together to the point where like people are like waking up and going about their day, and it's not a big deal that you're all living under the same house. Like you have made a family unit, and then that's taken away from you with Solomon's like, nonsense.
yeah.
Once again,
So
fuck Solomon.
yeah, um, I'm just trying to kind of go to the base, and then like the last thing is like, oh well, now someone's really hurt, but then Isabel like takes her, and I need to sneeze. But then it's like, okay, clearly there's something we can do about this now, or clearly there's more that we can like or aim or try to rescue or help, and that's why we go to Esther City, and then like There's a whole bunch of shenanigans there. Now I will
Well,
say
you go to Esther City because you're following Isabel, right? Because
yeah.
Isabel knows that Alva could, like, if there's a place that could save Alva's life, it is Esther City. But then it took her so long to get to Esther City because of the whole like time looping shenanigans that Alva just ended up dying anyway.
Yeah. Um so like that like I
Once
feel
again,
like
skipping right over the monkey train because the
the
monkey train really doesn't matter.
monkey train was just a stop to like there. The one thing that I will say that is kind of like lacking, I would guess for me, um, is the idea of what is it? Like we don't do anything about the human factories, and we don't really know where miasma comes from.
You kind of do.
So you see how you said kinda, right?
No, exactly. And this is and you're hitting the nail on the head in that this is an issue. So I don't know. Maybe we can springboard this into like the actual like discussion proper. But like my understanding, and as far as I'm aware, the understanding of the community, which is not enormous, but it was pretty big when this game came out for a minute. The human factories are an extension of the miasma/Charon program. Do you remember what the miasma was originally created to do? There was one NPC that said what its original purpose was.
Like the only thing that my mind is bringing up is like the idea of like, oh, it's a cycle of death and like rebirth and stuff like that. And I don't.
No. I mean, like literally, like the product that was produced, like however many years ago. What was the miasma supposed to do?
I don't think so. I don't think I remember that then.
There was one NPC in Esther City who talks about how the miasma was designed to control climate. It was supposed to
about
stop,
how it like
it was
gets
supposed
rid of
to
everything
stop
there.
intense storms. It was supposed to like fix droughts. Like it was supposed to be a way to manipulate the planet's climate so that way everywhere in the world would be able to thrive, right? But due to the nature of how the miasma works, it could also be used for great evil, which is my understanding is what Solomon did. And we can get to that in a second. But so that was the original intent, I believe, of the miasma. But the problem was that obviously global climate is a extremely complex system that requires a lot of a lot of forethought and planning that people can't do. So that's where Mother comes in. Mother is like a pseudo genetic biological programming thing that was connected to the miasma specifically to run the Charon program. Because Charon, which is that place that you were at the very end, and that big fucking dragon thing that you fight for whatever fucking reason, that whole facility was to produce miasma. And Mother's whole job was running the infrastructure of sending out these trains to like locations so that way they could distribute miasma and control climate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except
once again, it should be noted, all this should be taken with a grain of salt because I don't think the game explains this well enough to know for 100%. But then we come to the next step in like the events that occurred in which Solomon, the evil scientist from Esther City, decides to use the miasma technology to create a like perfect human race, like typical evil scientist type stuff. And part of that process is, all right, we are now going to create the egg of life, which is like a cloning chamber, right? We are going to invent the egg of life. The egg of life is going to produce like bouts of civilization, like entire groups of them. And then if it's determined that that civilization is not good enough, then the miasma will sweep through, wipe the plate clean, and we make another one. And we repeat this over and over until eventually civilization is perfect, and then we go. Now, one of the things that you kind of saw was that there were multiple Solomons, right?
Yeah, like a
It is my
young.
understanding that the human factories were part of Solomon's plan, obviously, right? Because if you were just trying to control the climate, why would you have human factories as part of the Charon program? Excuse me. My understanding is that every human factory will produce one Solomon at a time, and that Solomon is predisposed to be like the quote unquote arbiter of whether or not individual groups of people should live or die.
Okay, I don't know why they would be at different ages then, I guess.
It's just like the cloning thing, right?
Okay.
So like the one that you find in Esther City, it's my understanding that that is the original one from however many. I genuinely thought he would be like a couple 100 years old, but then again, half of his skull is replaced with metal, so what the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
My understanding is like the reason why they're at like different ages and whatnot is just because they came out of their cloning tubes or like the egg of life at different stages, at like different physical periods of time.
Okay.
And then this is where the monkey train comes in, because obviously one of the first things you see on the monkey train is a bunch of people, but they're acting like monkeys, right? And then you see Monk Hollywood, which is monkeys acting like people, right?
Yeah.
The Solomon who controlled that train with Monk Hollywood in it specifically had his own, like he like co-opted a bunch of like the human factory equipment because he was like, I can do this way better. We don't have to just try a civilization. I'll start myself and do it from scratch. But once again, Solomon might be a genius, but he's mostly a narcissist.
Yeah.
So like that's why like the cloning stuff didn't really work for him, and that's why, you know, all that stuff happened. So like technically from a grander narrative perspective, the monkey train makes sense to show like, hey, this is like the early stages of the human factories, but it's not super relevant from like the overall narrative or whatever. Now so hypothetically, we know what the miasma's for. We know what Mother's job was. We know what the Charon program was. We know why the Egg of Life was created, right? So we know all these different things. My question, there's a ton of questions, but my next question is, who is Sam?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a part of Mother. Like the same thing with the robot said, that a part of Mother can continue to run like this whole project, like, or parts of like the parts of the project by itself. So I'm assuming it's part of Mother.
My understanding is that because Mother is a biological entity, right? That just has like cybernetic components like put in, not really like a cyborg, but like you know, so that way Mother can actually run the whole shindig. Because we've seen, like, you see what Mother looks like when it's fully developed, right? It looks like a full ass woman. So my understanding is that Sam, that we know and love as one of the main characters of this game, is what happens when you interrupt the cloning process and you are not able to imprint the Mother mentality on top completely. That's why most of the game, when we interact with Mother, why it looks like a red hologram that only Sam can see. Because it's like a subconscious programming that was put into her, but did not subsume her personality, because if you recall, the train that was delivering her to whatever location derailed, and then later she was found by John.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that whole process got interrupted, which led to her developing her own personality, and that's why that Sam is different. This ties into the reasoning as to why the Sam that we see at the very end of the game also kind of has a different personality, right? Hypothetically appears to be a little bit older in like a literal sense. My understanding is that what you did at the end of the game with the whole weird thing with like the crazy big hair and the glowing and all that jazz was that you allowed Sam's personality to become equal to Mother's personality, in which they both essentially shut down the Charon program. Hypothetically, the machinery is still there, but now there is not this super big AI to like run the trains and run the factories and stuff like that. So that's why everything should hypothetically go back to normal over time. And that's why that Sam that you meet at the very end might as well just be a random girl.
Like, yeah, I mean, if it could be something akin to, it's like, our like the fated reincarnation or something like that. But
Well,
like
sort of.
coincidental.
Yeah. Like incidental, exactly.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's just like, my understanding is that like the Sam clones, without the imprinting of Mother's like super personality, will just be different people. I don't know why the second one decided to also be called Sam. That's not really important. I think that's mostly just for like the viewer's benefit to know like, yes, this is the same type of person. But it's just like a demonstration of like, wow, these people are different. Because even then, and we could talk about this as well, when you meet the Rocket Knight Legion in Esther City, they talk about the Mother that they knew. And when they talk about Mother, she was very stern and short and not exactly humorless, but very serious, which is very different than both of the Sams that we had met.
Yeah.
Right? And but then it's also very interesting because what they describe, to be fair, they could just be seeing it through like rose-tinted glasses. The Mother that we see, i.e. the red hologram, is cruel and
yeah,
evil,
she's crazy
right?
evil.
Right? And so it's like, it's very strange, I guess, obviously, in a lot of different ways, because it's like, why does that exist? What happened? One of the things that I wanted to, and I have literally no evidence to support this, but you remember after you turned off the like time loop thing in Esther City and everything just kind of like became dilapidated and everybody like faded away via a hologram and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the implications of that, because like when I was playing this originally, and maybe you thought this as well, I thought that Esther City was stuck in a time loop so that way the original Solomon would be able to live long enough to see his ideal version of humanity, right? But if the time loop in Esther City was just an elusive hologram, that doesn't keep you alive. But then it doesn't matter because he's there anyway.
Yeah, it's
very
weird.
Strange.
That part's weird because especially like Thomas also was outside of the time thing, so why did he disappear as well?
Right? So like he was outside of the time of like the time loop area, to the point where they acknowledge that he has gotten older than everybody else because he is outside of the time loop, but yet he also fades away.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a I don't really understand that part. I agree. I feel like it would have made sense. Like, hey, it's something miasma really like. Hey, maybe the miasma occurs like tomorrow, and like so what we did was we just
Charon arrives tomorrow.
Yeah, Charon arrives tomorrow, so it's like they just loop that same day, so that doesn't happen to them. I'm like, oh, that would have made I think much more sense than, oh, this city is an illusion of a.
But that was the other thing, was that the Rocket Knight Legion weren't the people that started the time loop. That was Solomon.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, okay, that's very strange, whatever, I guess. Oh, and then also, because obviously the Rocket Knight Legion are the people from Earthborn, right?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that Guy, because if you look at like the descriptions of the figurines from Earthborn, they give you like a little statement about the little critter itself, and then just like a weird
developed. Yeah, like a
and then like a weird non sequitur statement about something going on way back when in Esther City, right? It is my understanding that it was Guy that made Earthborn, like physically, because he's the one who has like the actual like programming and engineer prowess to like physically make them. And then what's his face, guy, he was the wizard guy, Thomas,
Yeah,
was the one
Thomas.
who made the figurines.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
what, because it doesn't need to be, right? You don't necessarily need to have a reason for everything, right? But like, what was the point of Earthboard? Like in universe, why did they make it?
I don't know. It was just like a legacy within the game of the persistence of like maybe people's ideas and like.
Well, because they talked about the idea of like, we saved the princess from Solomon, i.e., mother, right? So like, at some point, we would have to assume that Solomon got his hands on a mother clone and then was going to use her to completely take over the whole system, right? Which I guess he succeeded at. I have no idea. It's really hard to tell whether or not he was successful in that endeavor. But then they rescue him, or they rescue or Mother from the clutches of Solomon, who is hypothetically the Demon King, right?
Yeah.
And then they make this video game fantasizing about how they defeat Solomon, I guess.
I mean, you know, you take from real life experiences to make something fun,
and that's fine, right? That's totally fine. Like there's not really any conceptual problem with that, I suppose. But it's just very strange, because it's like, once you start once again, in my opinion, everything after New Dam City starts getting really loosey-goosey with its actual like all of the narrative becomes really abstract, and it feels like they're pulling at straws.
Like it's not that grounded.
Prior to the end of New Dam City is very concrete, and you can point to this happened because of this, and this person wants this because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's really cool. Some straggling questions that are interesting, I suppose. Do you remember who Alva's grandfather was?
Alva's grandfather was the one who built the fan, right?
Correct, which is one of the reasons why she knew how it worked, right? Because he told her.
Yeah.
But if you recall, because this probably didn't register because it wasn't super important to you at the time, it's actually one of the first mentions of Esther City, because she's like, yeah, my grandfather came from Esther City to build this. Who the fuck was that?
Yeah, because it's like, would Esther City have existed during that time? Or like when
this is where one of the biggest questions in my mind comes in. How long has this been going on?
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, there's some aesthetic stuff that you can just chalk up to, like, it looks cool, so who cares? Like the beached whale that's still alive on the top of that very first train station you get to. Like, you could chalk that up to, like, that just looks cool, so whatever. We'll write that off as just video game nonsense, which is fine. But, like, this system of, like, wiping out a portion of humanity and then replacing it with a new random set of humans from the human factory must have been going on for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you have Greenberg, where they know nothing about the miasma, but yet they have built an entire village.
So it's been here for a while, yeah, I would say, but...
And then there's tons of evidence, like, all over the place of, like, extreme bodies of water being missing, right? Like, we see that all the time. And so that ties into the whole idea of, like, miasma is able to control the climate and stuff like that, because you can, like, control rainfall and snowfall and all that jazz. So it's like, that makes sense. That process, even if you were like, hey, no more snowfall in this area ever, guess what, motherfucker? It would still take like 500 years for that body of water to disappear. You know? So it's like, once again, is that just video game stuff where you're just not really supposed to think about it? Or because, like, the game has this really fascinating timeline that it proposes, and then pretty much refuses to give any hard evidence as to when things occurred. Right? Saba goes,
Yeah.
No, and that's fair. So yeah, so like there's all this stuff with like Alva, which is really weird, where it's like, where does she come from and why? And like Isabel is able to break into Charon.
Isabel is
right?
also a bit weird, because I thought like Isabel could have potentially come from like she feels more robotic and emotionless and like stuff that.
She's traumatized because she's already lived through one miasma cycle, was the idea.
Okay.
Isabel came from, not Greenberg specifically, but like came from a place like that. It got consumed by the miasma, she escaped, and then however many times later she met up with Alva and went around like trying to like not really save people, but just to like investigate the miasma, I suppose. And then that's when you meet her in Greenberg, and then she leads you back to New Dam City, right? So like that's why she's like really, that's why she's like, because she's traumatized, right? Because who wouldn't be, genuinely? But then it's this really weird thing where it's like, okay, so is the Charon program so loosey-goosey that Isabel was able to wander in there and be like, hey, here's some DNA. I want you to replicate this a billion trillion times, which led to all the Alvas.
Well,
right?
she was also like a tinkerer, right? Like the thing with the rocket as well. Like she also participated in like the building of that. So I think she was smart enough to understand
Alva's dead. These things. Oh, are you talking about Isabel?
Isabel. Okay,
so you're suggesting that Isabel was able to like tinker her way into like essentially hacking the Charon program to put Alva in there.
Yeah.
Okay, because the reason I bring this up, just in the realm of Alva, one of the theories that was going around, which once again the game neither confirms nor denies, was the concept of, what if Alva's grandfather was one of the original scientists working on the program with Solomon, and Alva was supposed to be an ideal human being? Because genuinely, she's charismatic, she's smart, in some aspects she's quite pretty, and it's the sort of thing where it's like you put all these things together and you could see how a fucking crazy scientist would be like, yes, this is a human being that I would want in my future society. So maybe Isabel shows up in the Charon program, sees all of the fucking thousands of Alva clones, and realizes like, oh shit, Alva is just one of 1,000. I'm gonna protect this to make sure that she's around forever. Now that theory is neat. It has a lot of interesting aspects to it, but it doesn't explain how Alva then fuses mentally with the Charon program to say goodbye to Alva, or to say goodbye to Isabel.
I'm assuming that's some like robot shenanigans where it's like uploading consciousness onto like a kind of mainframe kind of thing.
But and that's the thing that I guess is confusing. Where did it get that personality from? Because Alva would have already been dead by the time that they arrived in Esther City. Right? So it's like, if she wasn't dead, you could bring her back to life, because that's how crazy the egg of life is, hypothetically, right? But if she is dead, take her DNA, make a new one. That, based on what we see with Sam, doesn't mean it's gonna be the same personality. It's not even gonna have the same memories.
I don't know. The only other thing I can think of is like it somehow took her brain, and then, but I don't know if being brain dead matters or being dead matters in that instance.
I guess it's a genuinely fascinating question, just in terms of like the world building for Eastward, because I don't feel like they necessarily thought all this stuff through. I feel like they had this interesting idea for like a really oppressive world to exist in, where people are trying to have good lives and have good experiences, but then this external systemic force is constantly forcing them to experience tragedy instead. right?
Yeah,
I feel
mean,
like
it
that's
could be
kind of what they were
something where
going
it's
for.
like, yeah, maybe they had the most solid part, in like the whole game design thing where it's like sometimes we start off really strong, but then we kind of lose ourselves a little bit when we reach the end because it's just like we need to finish it, we need to get to the end of it. So some extra details.
There's so much is the thing. Like once again, it's entirely my opinion, but like there's so much after New Dam City.
Thanks for following, Beard Foru.
You gotta follow.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of
during
discussing
Eastward?
the Eastward discussion, final discussion. Sorry, so yeah, you said there's a lot of plot holes.
It's not even just that there's no. I'm not concerned that there's plot holes. My concern in because clearly we're distracted. My concern, I guess, is that like your statement was you get towards the end of a project and you feel the need to like wrap things up because you need to put something out, right?
That's in like yeah, that's a specific
makes sense.
circumstances. Yeah, sometimes that, if depending on like the situation you're in, could be worse.
Well, what I mean to say is that like, and this is once again my opinion, but like there's so much after New Dam City to the point where it's like you didn't need most of this. Like I can appreciate that you had like this silly monkey thing that you wanted to do and like whatever, like like I can understand where like X, Y, and Z is coming from, but like if you did have to wrap up this project, I can point out a couple places where you probably should have like hit the brakes and put more time into other circumstances. Like the whole thing with like the weird, like no one can get to Esther City because there's a fog of looping time.
And there just so happens to be a ton of mushrooms as well. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the mushrooms are just like aesthetic, right? It's just like cool visuals to indicate like, hey, you're coming into this area. I'll chalk that up to like video game stuff. But like the thing that like gets me really confused is like what caused them to loop in the fog?
Yeah, if it's not like a bubble, that is.
Well, no, I mean like literally in the game that we played, what event occurs that causes you to loop in the fog? It was this train showing up behind you and then colliding with you.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, because we know that you eventually get, the rocket and then that's how they like win or whatever. It's like, okay, so it seems to be a suggestion of like, okay, you're not allowed to like make progress into the fog until you have both the lucky coin and the rocket attached to the iron carbine. And it's like, that makes sense, I guess. But also like, why? Like it was like this really long, like essentially it amounted to like a 20-25 minute long cutscene to genuinely do nothing.
Because it's like, why is it when it touches it that we reset versus like outrunning it? Like, did we somehow make it into like the time bubble? Like, what caused us to get to there that stopped us before? I can kind of see like where that's like a question mark still.
Because it's not, and because it's like it's mostly like vibes, right? It seems to be a scene that's mostly about like vibes because it's like, oh, it's so hard to get to Esther City, and I don't know. I feel like they didn't really need to make it difficult to get to Esther City. I think the thing that makes it difficult to get to Esther City is the fact that the miasma keeps trying to fuck you up, right?
They could do that, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not even like suggesting like how you could have done the game differently. It's more just along the lines of like, you could tell me, like based on the scene that happens in Greenberg, you could look me in the eyes and be like, it's hard to get to Esther City because there's a lot of miasma around there. I'd be like, yeah, I believe it. 100%.
Yeah, so it's like,
like super easy.
There was a much more simplistic reasoning that already existed that you could have gone with.
Without this like weird time loop fog that doesn't really like connect to anything. It doesn't do anything narratively because it's like, anyway, we already talked about that point, but it's just like,
gotta wrap it up a little bit, but yeah.
And then like and then the other thing is like, if the Charon program is human made, why the fuck does it look like that?
I don't know, and I'm also wondering if it goes to Pot Croc, why does miasma not happen at Potcrock Isle?
So the thing that because you're talking about in Potcrock, they have that like weird ceremony where it's like Charon will
Charon
take
shows
you to
up.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't believe that was actually Charon. I think that was just a train. Because it didn't have, if I remember correctly, it didn't have the legs and the like clanging doors.
Okay.
I
guess
believe
they
it was
just called
just
it
a train
Charon.
that they just called Charon.
Very coincidental, I guess.
I don't know. Well, maybe they were aware of like the Charon program at some point, like years ago, and so they kept calling it that. But like, because once again, the actual like Charon trains have a very specific aesthetic, which is the the legs and the clanging doors with the smoke pouring out. You know what I mean? So it's like you can identify them very accurately. And I don't know, obviously the VODs exist on the YouTube channel, but like maybe I'll go back and double check. But like I'm pretty sure it just wasn't Charon. It was just a train. So yeah. Is there any facet of Eastward, narrative or otherwise, that you wanted to discuss a little bit before we wrap this up?
Well, we kind of discussed like maybe why Sam disappeared, because you were like, oh, combined with like Mother to 50% like control over Charon, to which that's how Sam shut it down.
My understanding is that everything after the point where you put the 3 keys down and like that door appears, my understanding is that is where you are now in the like cybernetic mind realm where Mother lives. Right? So that's why it gets really esoteric with a bunch of like floating platforms and nonsensical bullshit, because it's like this is just like the manifestation of how Mother sees her surroundings, and that's why you end up fighting like this big weird dragon, because it's like, this is what I'm going to protect myself with, and yada yada. So yeah.
Besides, so yeah, that's why I was like, okay, Sam disappearing, okay, there's the quinky dink of like, reincarnated version of Sam and John meeting. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad that like,
which appears to be like on his way home, maybe, like I don't, because it's like she was going on an eastbound train, so that means that John must be more west than he was at the end of the game, right? So like, was he slowly making his way back to Potcrock and then met a new clone of Sam, or like a different clone of Sam? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And so it's like that part was fine. I'm glad the thing didn't pan out where like, Mother at a certain point was like, are you sure Sam or John is even real? Are you sure you didn't imagine everything up? I'm like, okay.
Yes, I wanted to mention that as well, because like that whole thing where like Solomon, like evil mad genius Solomon, is like, you don't even know, John could be an illusion, the world is an illusion. I'm 99% sure that was him just trying to fuck with Sam.
That's good. I'm glad that didn't pan out into being like an actual thing. I don't think I would have liked that.
Actually, like, because obviously it would be impossible to go this far back into our Discord messages, but I believe that was actually the first message I sent you in regards to Eastward, was me being like, yo, dude, this fucking game just pissed me the fuck off.
Oh, because you were at that point or something?
Yeah, because I thought that that's what the game was going to do. I thought the game was going to be like, oh yeah, the whole thing is an illusion.
Yeah.
You know?
Mean, ultimately, just because we have to wrap it up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I think of kind of what I think I'm like on the same lines as you are about like, it's a pretty good game. Like, it's memorable in the way that like it is within itself like a fun kind of interesting tale. I don't think it expands too much outside into like reality, and like, how like Outer Wilds expands into like reality and like is mind numbing to a certain degree. It was just Eastward was just like fun in its own right. It's kind of dark a little bit, but I
mean, very dark. A lot of people die. A lot of people die in really tragic ways.
Yeah, so it's like it was good, but it was a little bit confusing towards the end. But yeah, I'd say that's the sum.
When I think of like my overall vibes from Eastward, it's very strange because like I wanted to share this experience with someone, and I wanted it to be you. Obviously, I was hoping that Lawrence would be here as well, mostly just because it would be nice to have like a more present like conversational partner. But like
Mhm.
I wanted to share this not necessarily because I think the game is like super stellar, right? But because the game is so uniquely fascinating in how I find the ending frustrating. Like I find this ending to be similarly to how I found Superliminal's ending frustrating, right? Because
Okay.
like what? Because I'm obviously a very concrete kind of guy. I like it when there are mechanics and systems and explanations for things, and I can get down with some abstract nonsense at points, but only if the abstract nonsense is like interesting,
Yeah.
you know. And the towards the end of this game, it seems like they're just like, oh, here's this thing, here's this thing, here's this thing, here's this thing, without any connective tissue linking any of them, and I'm like,
It's kind of weird, but I mean, yeah, I would say it is a fascinating game. I could describe it as that.
I would describe this game as like a weak 8 out of 10. Like, depending on my mood, I might call this a 7 out of 10, but like, I don't think it's worth just a 7 out of 10. I think it is better than that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, I could give it a lot. Like you probably think a seven's different than my seven, which I believe we've already talked about. But I would say this is like a good, like it's like a, what is it? B, maybe B plus. We're going with like, that kind
Sure.
of system.
Yeah, I could see that. That's more or less roughly like we're both
Yeah.
agreeing on the same thing. So yeah, so that's cool. All right.
Okay. Yeah. We have to wrap it up now. I gotta go head out and pick up someone.
I want to ask you one thing real quick.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything on a game called Tunic? Like, did you watch anybody stream it or any videos on it or anything
I
like
don't
that?
think so. Like you say the name and I'm like faintly maybe
Okay.
familiar, but not entirely.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go since obviously you need to go pick somebody up. I just wanted to ask just for future reference. All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Alrighty. Thanks for let me just hold on. Give me 5 seconds. Hopefully he doesn't. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I need to go pick someone up. Thank you once again for Feared Forward for following. You followed like right at the end. I don't even know if you're still here. But yeah, we were just wrapping that up. Eastward, this finale. Yeah. So yeah, thanks again. I gotta go. It was a good game. It was quite interesting. Quite an interesting journey. So I shall say goodbye and leave you here. So bye-bye. See you later.